Hi everyone, thank you very much for tuning in to this audio poster presentation. This research is about a randomized monetization method in video games, commonly known as loot boxes. Loot boxes have been identified as being psychologically akin to gambling, and previous research has also linked loot boxes to disordered gambling. The regulation of loot boxes is a public health issue that is being scrutinized by regulators and policymakers around the world, including here in the UK. In fact, after two parliamentary committees separately recommended regulating paid loot boxes as gambling within the last year, the UK government launched a call for evidence specifically about loot boxes in late September of this year. Our research responds to this call with our unique contributions. Our research provides a non-Western perspective to the loot box literature, which has hitherto been preoccupied with the situation in Western countries. The People's Republic of China, which I will refer to hereafter simply as China, regulates loot boxes by requiring video game companies to disclose the probabilities of obtaining randomized loot box rewards. This disclosure-based consumer protection measure is also being pushed by the video game industry as a self-regulatory solution to loot box harms. Research in other domains, such as alcohol, tobacco, and gambling, suggests that companies may not disclose information in an optimal manner to consumers. For example, UK alcohol companies have not always met their voluntary pledges around health warnings, and gambling companies' disclosures about the odds of winning are communicated suboptimally. This is relevant because Chinese loot box disclosure policies provide significant discretion to game companies. We do not know how effectively game companies have complied with disclosure regulations in China and whether or not they are behaving in a socially responsible way. Our research assesses the prevalence of loot boxes in video games in China and the video game companies' interpretations of probability disclosure regulations in China. We found that 91 of the 100 highest grossing iPhone games in China contained loot boxes. This is significantly higher than the 59% found in the UK. We also found that 90.5% of games deemed suitable for children aged 12 and above contained loot boxes, as shown in Table 1. This again is significantly higher than the 58.9% found in the UK. Our results reflect that the loot box situation in different countries might be vastly different and therefore should be studied separately. In terms of probability disclosures, as shown in Table 2, we found that 4.4% did not disclose probabilities, despite being required to do so by Chinese law. We found that 23.1% of games disclosed probabilities only in-game on the loot box purchase page, and that 38.5% of games disclose only on the game's official website. Website disclosures, which require players to expend extra effort to find, are less accessible than in-game disclosures. However, it appears that video game companies prefer website disclosures. We also found that only 34.1% of games disclosed at both locations, even though disclosing at both locations is evidently better than disclosing only at one location. We therefore argue that game companies fail to maximize consumer protection. Having found the relevant probability disclosures, we decided to assess how accessible these disclosures were. We found various forms of in-game and website disclosures, as shown in Tables 3 and 4. The most accessible and prominent in-game disclosure is automatically displaying the probabilities on the loot box purchase page, as shown in Figure 1. In contrast, the least accessible and most hidden in-game disclosure can be accessed only by chatting with the in-game customer service bot, as shown in Figure 3. The most accessible and prominent website disclosure is hyperlinking the disclosure at the bottom of every page of the website, as shown in Figure 5. In contrast, disclosures made on separate web pages with different loot boxes were less accessible, as shown in Figure 4. Overall, we found that only 9.6% of in-game disclosures were automatically displayed, and only 13.6% of website disclosures could be considered reasonably prominent. In conclusion, we found that loot boxes appear to be even more prevalent in video games in China than in the UK. We also found that most video game companies fail to disclose probabilities reasonably prominently. Our recommendation is that legal regulation and/or self-regulation of loot boxes through probability disclosures should require specific, uniform, and prominent disclosures to ensure maximum consumer protection. This research was conducted remotely by a team of 3 graduating undergraduate students under the supervision of a postdoctoral researcher in the summer of 2020. We are very pleased to have been able to contribute in our own way during this difficult time whilst living under lockdown. Thank you again for tuning in. Please take care.